Hey everyone, my name is Mary Beth, and for my project I decided to watch The Wedding Planner and examine how the media and society depicts the public relations profession as a whole throughout the movie. So before I get into the material that is specific to public relations, I wanted to give a little summary of the movie so that it might be easier to understand and follow along with. I actually looked up the Rotten Tomato film review score before I watched it, and the movie only got a 16% on the tomato meter, so I was a little skeptical, but it actually turned out to be a cute little movie. With that being said, the film is about a lady named Mary Fiore. She's played by Jennifer Lopez, and she's San Francisco's most successful supplier of romance and glamour. She knows all the tricks, she knows all the rules, but then she breaks the most important rule of all. She falls in love with the groom, who is played by Matthew McConaughey. And I got that information from IMDb. But pretty much she's the wedding planner, and yeah, we follow along with her throughout the movie. So the next big thing to understand the Fact or Fiction project is really defining what is PR, and the basic definition for this is a strategic communication process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between organizations and their publics. And we can see Mary, the wedding planner, throughout the movie displaying this definition of public relations. She's strategic about how she goes about her business and how she interacts with others to make the events as successful and chaos-free as possible. And then the bullet point underneath the main definition says strategic communication builds mutually beneficial relationships that is continual, never-ending, and are always moving. And then building relationships on one hand, but also building bridges when conflict happens, just to avoid anything negative and to make sure that there is as much success and positivity as possible. So I just touched on a little bit in the previous slide of different ways that Mary portrays the definition of PR and public relations in general. And right here I just pretty much made a slide with some of those roles and pictures of her in the movie. The first one, she has a lot of roles. She makes sure everything goes smoothly. She comforts the bride, the father, makes sure the priest is ready, makes sure the flowers look pretty at the weddings, and even at one point helps the best man deliver his speech through an earpiece, again, trying to avoid all conflict, making sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible. She always has everyone's best interest in mind, uses persuasion. She works together with her team and others, again, to make each event as successful as possible, and really seems to have an eagle-eye view with her wedding plan business. As the wedding planner, she's able to really oversee a lot and, again, just plays a lot of different roles. Just like in real life public relations, so much chaos can be happening behind the scenes, but again, it's their job to try and resolve it as best and as smoothly as possible, which Mary does throughout the movie. And I know this is something in the next slide, this one that I've been mentioning a lot, but public relations really is all about being mutually beneficial. If I had to highlight, star, underline anything in that definition, it would be mutually beneficial. So PR is being there through the good and the bad, like family. In our notes and in the textbook, it talks about how public relations is sort of like family. We can't choose them. Sometimes they support us, sometimes they don't. So you're going to have times in public relations where the job might be easier, you're being supported, but then also times there might be conflict and confrontation based on the work you're doing. And then there's one quote in the movie at the very beginning. A little girl's playing with her dolls. I'm about to show the clip from the movie, but she pretty much says something that is all about being mutually beneficial. She says, "He'll take care of you and you of him," which really sets the tone for the rest of the movie.
From now on, he'll take care of you and you'll take care of him. He'll make you big bologna sandwiches and you'll buy him new socks and a white briefcase and you'll live happily ever after.
So another thing related to public relations that I picked up on in the movie is that of asymmetrical communication, which is pretty much a persuasive-based model with two-way communication. And Mary uses this model of public relations a lot in her job. A few times she convinces the brides that they are making the right choice in their wedding completely. She pretty much tells them what they want to hear. So Mary is very convincing, whether it be that the dress is perfect, the venue looks good, or even that they're marrying the right person. She does it all. So the following clip is an example of asymmetrical communication, and this is a scene at the very beginning where Mary is helping reassure a bride that she's making the right decision in every way possible, so killing any doubt that she has. And Mary convinces the bride during this conversation that again she's making the right choice, so inevitably the bride does go through with the wedding.
You are the luckiest girl in the world. When I did Whitney Houston's wedding, she was even more nervous than you. And you look 10 times better than she did.
No, I don't. This isn't gonna work. I'm fat, and I'm gonna marry the wrong guy.
Look at me. You are exquisite. You're timeless. You're the envy of your future sister-in-law, Janice, whom I overheard say at the last gown fitting.
So another aspect of public relations that I came across in the wedding planner was Publix, and that is pretty much all about media relations. In our video over this section, there was a quote that actually said, "Media is a credibility mouthpiece." So it a lot of the times has to do with people who share a common interest. They may see what is being promoted via the public relations that it entails, whether that be through advertisements or different announcements. And in the next slide, there's going to be an example from the wedding planner of Publix. So before I show the clip of the Publix example, I want to sort of just talk about it real quick. So in this clip, Mary is talking with her boss about a client who used advertisements and announcements, and Mary continues to explain how this could be huge for their wedding planning business if they do end up pulling off the wedding for such a high-profile client who already has advertisements in magazines. And then Mary goes on to say, "We'll be in every major bridal magazine in the country," again, if they get this client and if they end up pulling off the wedding for them.
Francine Donnelly. Her family started selling gourmet sausages out of their small working-class kitchen.
Yeah?
Now, today, 5 years later, they're one of the biggest internet food specialty companies in America.
Pierre, I love you, but if you use another carnation in my bouquet, I will deport you. Thank you so much.
Jerry.
Au revoir.
They put her wedding announcement in the society pages. Why? Because they want their new money to be taken very seriously. Look, they see this as their ticket into the club, okay? They want to make it a social event. The party everybody talks about.
Oh, thank you.
I already made contact. They're coming to the Copeland wedding to see my work. I'm gonna nail this account, Jerry. We'll be in every major bridal magazine in the country. It'll be our biggest event ever.
So what really sums it all up when we think of public relations displayed in the wedding planner? And for me, there was really this one quote that stuck out that I thought really just summed it all up. And that was, "What would I have done without you?" Again, I've emphasized so much how public relations is mutually beneficial and how that is a huge part of it. So throughout the wedding planner, we see many people come together to make successful events happen, all while supporting each other and benefiting from one another in one way or the other, whether that be the bride getting her wedding planned or vice versa, the wedding planner business obviously having business considering they are planning someone's wedding. This being said, I think the movie did a good job of aligning the foundational definition of public relations, especially with how much it portrayed the mutual benefits of different characters throughout the movie. Mary had a lot of jobs and solved a lot of problems, all while trying to avoid as much conflict as possible. The most obvious, obviously, being falling for the groom of one of her clients, which eventually healed itself. But regardless, the overall movie had a lot of interactions of being mutually beneficial, which is huge in public relations. And I want to touch on 3 of Ashley Duvall's 5 main untruths. But again, I'm just going to touch on 3. The first one being public relations is confrontational. I believe that's an untruth as well, considering Mary does a lot behind the scenes to avoid confrontation. And then secondly, that PR is a cover-up technique. Again, I don't think so, considering throughout the movie there are obvious issues, but they try to solve them as smoothly as possible. And lastly, that public relations is just publicity in media relations, which again is not true. There's so much behind the scenes that Mary does. So overall, again, I think the wedding planner did a great job displaying public relations and how it works.